So I just want to get on here real quick just because I was out in the garden and I've had some disappointments over the last couple of days that I'll get into. I've also had some good things going on, um, and just some updates and some fun little tidbits that I thought were interesting at the very least. Some people might already know some of this stuff, but for me, especially because I started my indoor grow lights this year, I've never done it before. Just some like interesting things that I have learned in the process. So I'll show you my disappointments real quick. First off, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff going on in my backyard. My husband's in the middle of a project for a client, so he has all of his stuff all over my porch and all over my backyard for building projects. But um, this bed in the wintertime, this bed actually, or this area, I didn't have this bed in the wintertime, but this area that it's sitting in actually got a few hours of light in the wintertime. So I just assumed as the sun got higher in the sky, the entire rest of my garden is getting way more light than it ever did in the wintertime, except this spot. This spot has gotten less light to where it's virtually no light. You can see right here, this little sliver gets light for like not even an hour probably during the day. I haven't been out here to like actually time it, but it's not very long at all. And then this right here gets nothing. I was going to put tomatoes in here. I'm not going to be able to put tomatoes in there, at least if it's sitting right here. So what I think I'm going to do is have my husband help me get it on a sheet of plastic, and I'm going to move it to where my herb garden is, and we're just going to play musical beds. We're going to bring the herbs over to the shade and hope that they do okay. My parsley is finally going to flower. I didn't know that parsley flowers like every 2 years, I guess. So like it won't flower the first year. So that makes sense that even though it was miserable last year that it didn't flower even in the heat, but it is flowering now. And honestly, it doesn't taste bad. Like a lot of people say when things go to flower that they don't taste good anymore, and that wasn't the case. It's very pungent. It's a potent flavor, very strong, but it's not bad at all. So I think I'm still going to clip it and dry it for dry seasoning later. We'll see how that goes. And then, so I'm going to move this over there and play musical garden bed. Keep my Thanksgiving pumpkins, Halloween pumpkins, my decorative Halloween pumpkins, not the jack-o'-lanterns. But they are going so good. I already took some of them out, and I'm going to have to take more out because it's not a very big pot. It probably really only needs one plant, but I don't know which plant is which. I just sprinkled the seeds in there, and I don't know if it's going to be the blue pumpkin or the red pumpkin. And I don't know if only one of the varieties sprouted and that's all that's in there, or if it's a mixture of both. I have no clue. So I might take a couple and just like plant them around my yard where I smashed them at when I was going to give them to the chickens. I smashed them out there by the chicken pen, and I was giving the rest of the pumpkin to the chicken, and I just kept a lot of the seeds. And like, so like the wayward seeds that just kind of got scattered on the ground, they started growing out there by the chicken pen. I told my husband, do not mow over them, let them be. And we'll just pray that there's no snakes hiding under them when we walk back there. We have a really big problem with water moccasins. We have found several snakes, and all of them have been water moccasins. I don't think we found any other variety of snake in our yard, and they will come all the way up to the house. Like, it's not a good thing, but the back of our property is wetland, so it is what it is. But anyway, so we do have pumpkins growing out in the wild, so that's fun. But my disappointments, let me show you. I'm very annoyed right now, and I don't think it has anything to do with anything that I've done wrong. Okay, so this is my greenhouse. I had to move it. It was sitting over here. I moved it because it just was only getting light in the evening time, and I wanted to get more light because like some of my plants were starting to get stunted. So check it out. All right, this plant right here, this one has leaves on it still. This one, half the leaves got eaten off. This one is the only survivor. Oh, we got a little miniature one back there. I don't know if you can see. There's two stems sticking out. And even the same thing happened with my okra. So I had them inside under grow light. They were doing fine. And I would go in, like I would go to bed at night, and they would have all their leaves on them. They would have just sprouted in the last like 24 hours. They would have their leaves. I would go to bed, and those are just examples. Those aren't the only ones. And then I would wake up in the morning and all the leaves would be gone. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I was turning the lights off. They weren't browning before it happened. They would be beautiful green new leaves, and then they would disappear. Um, so then I found my cat, not even my cat, it's my daughter's cat, laying on the heat mat that I had the tray on. So I went in there the other day and she had pushed the tray completely off the mat because I had the tray only halfway on the mat because some of my stuff had germinated and then the second half hadn't. So I had that portion still on the mat. So there was a little bit of room there for, I guess she was able to walk on it and feel that it was warm. And then she pushed the rest of the tray off and then she was laying on the mat. So what I think she did was she was being nosy over there, walked on the mat, decided she liked it, pushed the tray off. But in the midst of doing all of that, she saw that there was green things sticking out of the cups here, and she ate my leaves because, like I said, it's not the first time that it's happened. And it's only happened since I realized that she was using the heat mat to take a nap on. So I had to move all my germinated stuff out to the greenhouse, and I'm very aggravated about it. And also, I wanted to show because I had so all of these at the top, not these in the big containers, just these small ones right here, were germinated inside and under grow lights and on the heat mat. And they all kind of have a little bit of a yellow tinge to them. Now, if you look at these ones, these were germinated outside in this greenhouse. They have never moved from here except the last like 2 or 3 days. I've been putting them out for a little bit of time out in the sun to help harden them off. They look short. The soil was down to like right here, and I added more soil to it, but eventually, whenever these breach the top of this, I think I'm going to separate them all because I put like 5 in here, 5 seeds in here, and they all germinated. So I'm going to separate them when they get a little bit bigger and a few more true leaves on them, and I should be able to separate them fine. And then I'm going to put them in bigger pots. But anyways, they are nice and green. Do you see how beautiful green those are? These were only germinated 3 days before these were planted. The seeds were planted 3 days before these ones in the white containers. So, unless it's like super cold, like in January, I don't know if anything would germinate here, like tomatoes and peppers. I think that even with the greenhouse, it might still be too cool without any heat in it. So I'll probably still do it in January, but I kind of feel like I wasted my time and my money on the grow lights just because everything is doing so much better. And things that sprout in the grow lights and then they start struggling and I move them out to the greenhouse, they've been doing a lot better. So I don't know. I just think that the greenhouse is better for me. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. I found out about something called a PAR number. My husband told me about it because he used to grow aquatic plants, and I was telling him that I was getting some of my plants were getting sunburned from the new lamp that he got me, and everything that I have read or seen, or when I discuss it on like my gardening groups on Facebook, they always say like it needs to be like 2 inches above your plant, blah 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 blah. No, it doesn't. Like, you have to look at the PAR number. It's the strength of the light that's coming out, or the UV or something. It has to do with photosynthesis, and that number has to be within a specific range. So you can have your light like 6 inches above the plant, but if it's within that number is like, I think it was like 200 to 400, I don't know. If it's within that range, then your seedlings should be able to grow. Well, when I had them so far down, it was at like 1,000 instead of between 2 and 400. It was at like 1,000 or more, and it was burning. It was turning my leaves brown. So I've never heard that mentioned on any of my YouTube channels that I've watched, any of the research that I've done, any of my gardening groups. No one's ever mentioned a PAR. It's PAR, PAR number. So that was kind of annoying that I have been working so hard on these stupid grow lights, and something that even me researching it, grow lights, the PAR number never came up. I don't know how my husband learned about it, but like I said, he used to grow aquatic plants, so he knows a little something about growing plants. So he has a meter that measures the PAR number, and he was able to help me adjust the light. But now my cat's eating the plants. So it's just been a whole crap show for me trying to do the freaking grow lights. I mean, I have had some success, but not near as much as what other people have. I am so fed up. But you want to know what? I am a stubborn person and I'm not a quitter, so I am going to try again. I have been trying since January and have failed miserably in some places and done pretty well in some other places. The next thing that's annoying me is that I planted these 321-24 and they have not grown. I mean, they germinated and they sprouted and they grew for like a week and they just got stuck like that. So I've been playing with the moisture, trying to figure out if it's too much moisture, too little moisture. I've been trying to let them dry out a little bit because this greenhouse keeps the moisture in. So I've been opening it during the day to kind of let some air in to circulate to try to get some of this moisture out. And that's lemon balm. And the same thing is happening with, this is wild bergamot, same thing. This one is thyme, same thing. And I'll tell you what, I just cannot grow herbs or flowers, apparently. It is just not working for me. I planted so many herbs under grow light and in the greenhouse since January, like rounds upon rounds, like probably at least, this is probably my 5th or 6th round of trying to grow herbs, and they all stall out and die. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know if it's the wrong time of year. I will have to say I focused most of my energy researching like peppers and tomatoes, mostly tomatoes and peppers and some of the cucurbits and stuff like that. So I really haven't done my research on those. Most of the research I have done is what are the medicinal uses for them. I would like to make like salves and stuff like that, but a lot of the medicinal uses aren't to treat something that's already happened. A lot of the medicinal uses are to prevent something or to maintain something, like maintain your blood pressure, for instance, or maintain your immune system. So you can take something to fight off a cold if you have it, but you have a chance of maybe not getting that cold if your immune system is already built up. So things like that I want to, because a lot of times you don't have to take it in like a tincture. Like I hate tea. I don't care what kind of tea it is. It could be hot tea, cold tea, iced tea, sweet tea, whatever kind of tea. I don't like it. I do not like tea. I've never met a tea that I liked. So I don't want to sit there and boil leaves if I don't have to and try to chug it down and force myself to drink it. I don't like it. But if I can put it in my cooking and I'm already eating it because it's mixed in with a spaghetti sauce or a chicken dish or something like that, and I'm getting benefits, health benefits, medicinal benefits out of it, then that's great. But I have to be able to grow the herb or the flower to be able to do that. So not doing well. The only reason why this stuff is alive still in my herb garden that I have, my parsley and my cilantro and my basil, I got all this. I did not try to sort those from seeds. I got those at the garden center for like $2 a piece. So, and honestly, a lot of those from the garden center, I like any oregano or thyme or dill. I've tried oregano, dill, and thyme, and rosemary, all from the garden center, and I have managed to kill them all within a week or two. Maybe it's the wrong time of year. I need to do more research on that. Maybe I'm not giving them, maybe I'm giving them too much sunlight or something like that. I don't know. So some of the cool things I want to show you is, first off, this is funny. So I harvested this lettuce back here yesterday for dinner to go as like a side salad with our dinner, and it's planted right next to society garlic. And I don't know if the society garlic, it's not planted directly under it, but it's definitely planted very close. So I don't know if the society garlic is like putting something in the soil that the lettuce is taking up, or if maybe when the wind blows, some of the leaves are like rubbing up against the lettuce. Because society garlic has a very distinct taste. A lot of people say it tastes like garlic, and I guess it kind of does, but it's a very mild garlic flavor. It's not super potent, like when you, like if you were to bite into a piece of garlic versus a piece of society garlic, at least the leaves, I've never eaten the roots, but the leaves of it, to me, I find the actual garlic to be a lot stronger. But this, when you cook it, it definitely has a stronger flavor than if you eat it raw, in my opinion. The taste just kind of lingers there too. Like, you can drink soda or eat something else and you're still going to taste the society garlic. It's not a strong taste, but it's something that just sticks around in your mouth. And I don't find it to be a bad taste. It's very green. It's very tasty. I don't know what else it tastes like. Like I said, if it's compared to actual garlic, it would be very mild compared to that, but it's very tasty. It just is something that just lingers on your, like, in your mouth, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, does my breath taste like my mouth tastes? Like, does it smell like my mouth tastes? Like, for like an hour after an hour. But the point is that the lettuce was tasting like the society garlic when we ate it yesterday. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't, when you think of like a nice fresh lettuce, salad, it didn't taste like that. The other cool thing is that I wanted to show you my cucumbers. I had made a video. I don't think I ever posted it, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. It was a very short video. It was about me. I had started cucumbers inside under Grow Light, and then I had a whole bunch of them, and they grew a lot faster than I was expecting. I did not realize. I've planted cucumbers before, but I've always direct sowed them, and I never thought to pay attention or like keep it in my brain how long it takes them to germinate and grow. So they grew a lot faster under the Grow Light. They did really well, and I had quite a few of them. Like everything that I had, like 100% germination on them. So I put some of them in my greenhouse, and then some of them I just put outside, and I didn't harden them off. And so like the ones that I put outside, like within like the first day, it's like they like broke at the base, like right at the base, right above where the soil line is. They like, it just snapped in two. Like, I don't understand what happened. Like, I guess it was what they call dampening off, or it looked like they got trampled though. Like the whole thing wasn't broken. It was just the one spot on the stem that was broken. But it was literally like, it wasn't like it was leaning over and it was a gradual thing. It was like within a night, it looked like someone pinched it off. The ones in my greenhouse didn't do that. So I had a couple in my greenhouse, and you probably can't tell which ones were in my greenhouse and which ones were not in my greenhouse. So this one right here, was in my greenhouse, and this one right here was in my greenhouse. Other than the fact that these both have two flowers on them, this one wasn't in my greenhouse. This one's getting a nice leaves. These have two leaves. This one has two leaves. The rest of them, most of them have one leaf and are getting their second leaf. But as far as size and health, the ones that I had in my greenhouse, I planted like a couple weeks before I planted the ones that were in ground, and there's like no difference. There's no point in, from my experience this year, in growing them inside. I couldn't plant them out before, like, they're not as cold hardy as tomatoes and peppers. Like my tomatoes and peppers I put out whenever, it was after my last frost date, but it was still pretty chilly. It was getting down to like the 30s and 40s at night, and they were doing okay. I couldn't do that with my cucumbers. They like the heat. So, and even when I planted the ones in the ground, I knew I could do it, but I was kind of wondering like if it was going to affect their germination or their growth, and it seems to be doing fine. But they've already caught up with the ones that were in the greenhouse. Like, there's no point in starting them in the greenhouse if you can just do it outside and save yourself some time and effort and space in your, not your greenhouse, your grow lights. Under your grow lights, there's no point in starting them under your grow lights or your greenhouse, I guess, when you can you can direct seed them. So my advice is save yourself the time and effort and space and plant something else that needs that space, that needs that extra time, and don't start your cucumbers early. There's no point to it. Even my beans, these were started probably a month before these ones. This little guy right here was started at the same time this one was. It just didn't do well for some reason. It germinated, it just didn't do well. These ones are almost the same height, even though this one got a huge head start. So some things I guess you just don't even need to start. I'm probably going to do it again next year because I'm hard-headed and I get too excited about things. And then my Bella Rosa tomatoes are getting so big and beautiful. I'm like so proud of these things. Like, they have grown so much just as I transplanted them. Like, I guess it's been 2 weeks now. I think it's been 2 weeks. I transplanted these and they have gotten like twice the size. They are so big and they're getting flowers on them. So I don't know if you can see on here. There's the flower. And what I've been doing is I've been hand pollinating them. I know a lot of people use an electric toothbrush, and I probably would too if I had one. I just keep forgetting to, like, every time I go to the store, I keep on forgetting to add that to my list. So what I've been doing is just tickling it like this, very lightly with the tip of my finger. And I've done that on all of my flowers that I see coming up, like literally every single one. And if I'm not sure I've already done it, I do it again. And I've showed you these ones before, but I'm getting germination just fine. I can never see what's going on with this. Where's my fingers at? Okay, that's my hat. All right, you can see the tomatoes in front of my fingers. I'm getting germination perfectly without having to spend the extra expense on the toothbrush. I think you can get one at the Dollar Tree for like $1.25, an electric one. So it's not like a huge investment if you want to use the electric toothbrush, but like I said, I just keep forgetting. I probably would do that. It would probably be a little less time consuming. And then these are my calendula that were going really good and then kind of stalled a little bit. I think I'm going to plant them out I've been hardening them off for the past week, so they should be good now. In the next couple of days, I'm going to put them in the ground. And then, all of my celebrity tomatoes have flowers on them. And again, I just go through and tickle them like this to make sure that pollen gets mixed up in there. So I should have a pretty dang good harvest of tomatoes this year, which I'm very excited about, because if I can even get them this size, which I've only been able to do a couple of times, I can't really get them to flower. I mean, I've gotten a couple of tomatoes. It's not like I've never gotten a tomato ever on any of my plants, but there are some plants that I've never had a tomato on, and most of the plants I only get like one or two, and they really suck. So I definitely am glad that I put a lot of my effort into mastering the tomatoes this year. And it might be like that. It might be this year I mastered tomatoes, next year maybe I'll master the herbs, and maybe the next year I'll master the cucumbers. Like my cucumber experience has not been very good. Like I'll get them to grow very, like a whole bunch of vines and even a whole bunch of cucumbers. I've never been able to get the watering down. So like it's like they get pollinated. It's not like they don't get pollinated and then they just like fall off or anything. They're getting pollinated. In the past they were getting pollinated, but I had them in containers. I didn't have them in ground or even in raised bed. They're in actual containers. And everything that I can find seems like it was the watering issue. And so they would start growing good, and I probably could have picked them at some point, but I wanted them to get like big, like when you think of like a cucumber. Like I didn't want like a little 3-inch guy. I wanted like, like a 5 or 6-inch cucumber before I picked it. And they would turn yellow, and then they would swell up. And when I say swell up, I mean like not like one end got a little swollen and then the other end was normal. Like they turned bright yellow like a lemon, and they weren't those lemon yellow cucumbers. They were like pickling cucumbers and slicing cucumbers. They were like normal cucumbers. They would swell up, and it was like they would swell up like when you think of like if you ever took like a medical glove, like one of those rubber medical gloves, and you like use it as like a balloon and you blow it up or put water in it or something like that, and it swells up. That's what the cucumber looked like. And it would turn bright yellow, and then it would get little bugs in it, and like little, like, I guess they're like worms or something, little like clear looking glossy bugs or gross looking. I don't think I ever ate one cucumber. I had lots of cucumbers, lots of them. Never ate one of them because they would always go bad before I could pick them. So maybe this year I'll be able to get some good cucumbers now that they're not in containers, and maybe I could figure out the watering thing. And then another, I don't know if I call it a disappointment, an unexpected thing was I sent my husband to go get pine mulch. So I've heard really good things about pine bark mulch. So I'm thinking like mulch. When I think of mulch, I'm thinking of like shredded mulch, like shredded stuff. So I'm like, well, I've seen lots of people on YouTube saying go get pine bark mulch. So he brought me actual pine bark mulch. Some of these pieces were so big, I was sitting there like spending my day on Saturday crushing them in my hands, trying to get them just this size even. They were so big. So I don't think it's going to be a worry. They are definitely working. They are keeping the moisture in. I've been very pleased with how they've been since Saturday. Today is Tuesday, and so I watered them in really good on Saturday. And then Sunday and yesterday I came and checked the garden, and everything was still moist. What is it today? I think I'm going to water them tonight. There's some moisture in there, but not too much. Let me put my finger farther down. Yeah, see, I put my finger that far down. There's some dirt at the top of my finger, but down. There's water at the top of my finger, but up here is getting dried out. So obviously that first little bit is getting dried out. Down at my fingertip, it's still got some moisture, but it's not like super moist. So it probably could go another day. I bet by tomorrow it would be dry. Let's see here. Oh, I've got another thing for you. My tangerine dream. Oh, so that was one of the things with the cat. I'll come back to that. So I've got my tangerine dream. I complained about my last video. My tangerine dream like wasn't germinating, and that was at the 4-week point. So that was what, 2 weeks ago, 1.5 weeks ago. And so we're over 5 weeks in. We're in between 5 and 6 weeks probably, and I finally got one little, I don't know if you can even see it on the camera, one little guy right there. And it finally germinated. Now, my tangerine dream that I had inside, it germinated like 3 or 4 days ago, and that was one of the ones that my cat ate the leaves off. So I waited all that time, over 5 weeks, to finally get some effing germination, and I don't even get to freaking enjoy it after all that time and work and just trying to make myself stay patient. I thought there was something wrong with the seeds. I mean, I've had other peppers that took like 3 up to like 4 weeks to grow, but never like 5 or 6 weeks to grow. I've never had that, which I don't grow a ton of peppers, so it could be the variety. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever grown the tangerine dream sweet peppers. But just to know that I waited 5 or 6 weeks in the various spots that I had them germinating to be taken out by the freaking cat is just so annoying to me. And I didn't have any other ones. I just had that one cup, and she ate them. I'm pretty sure she ate them. I didn't catch her in the act, but it's happening to anything that's sprouting now. So I'm pretty sure she ate them. So it's very disappointing. Like, honestly, like, it almost made me want to cry. Like, I know it's just like a plant and I can put another seed in the ground. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I just wanted so bad to get those to germinate. And I was to the point where I was going to call the company and complain and ask them for another pack of seeds because I thought there was something wrong with them. And it just turns out they just took a long time to sprout. So, I mean, it's just so disappointing. But you know what? I'm gonna put another seed in the ground. And at this point, it's the 2nd week of April now. So once you're like into mid-April, I mean, it's getting hot here. I mean, in the evenings, it's a little bit cooler. Some days you have to even wear a sweater. It's like under like 75 degrees, and to me, anything under 80 degrees is really like sweater weather to me. But like, I mean, but it does get cool enough that you want to wear a sweater at night still. But just a couple more weeks, it's going to be like 80 degrees at night. So during the day it's going to be super duper hot, and I just don't know if plants are going to survive. Like, even I'm like really feel like I'm playing chess with the plants that I have, and they're like my yellow. I have San Marzano tomatoes, yellow pear tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, and the husk cherry, ground cherry tomatoes. Tomatillos, I think is what they are. I have those in there that are germinating, and I don't have any out in my garden. I bought those later, and I had to wait for them to ship to me. So, I mean, I'm really still playing like a game of chess, trying to figure out how I'm going to get those into the garden and have them growing in time for before the like heat hits. So it's like trying to play with Florida weather is hard. Like I don't know if other climates have that issue, but here in Florida, like our our weather is up and down, and then we get really bad rainy season in like May and June, and sometimes it can last all the way like hurricane season is like I don't know if it starts in May or June, but it goes all the way until like October or something like that, November. But we generally get some really good rainstorms in May and June, and so just trying to play with that, and then the heat, and then it gets really humid when the rainy season comes, and it's already humid, so it just gets like 100% humidity here. It's just hard to like plant things out later. Like you really need to get them in and get them established when it's a little bit cooler and it gets warm during the day, but it doesn't get like overbearing heat. So I have a feeling that those new ones are probably going to get sunburned before they really get going, but I'm going to try anyways because I'm stubborn and I'm a wayward person, and I just like to push the limits and the boundaries a little bit, but some things just don't work out, and that might be one of them. And I'll probably try it again next year because that's who I am as a person. But so yeah, that's about all the things that I got going on. The exciting things I've got my squash and my zucchini are going. I've got finally my Louisiana Creole okra is sprouting. Jesus, I didn't think it took a way longer for those to sprout. I had my Clemson spineless inside under grow light, and those sprouted like right away. Those ones took a lot longer, but I think maybe the cold nights were keeping the soil cool, and maybe it wasn't getting warm enough for them to want to germinate. But I'm glad that they came up. So yeah, we've got to get rid of some plants, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my celery. I was going to try to keep it through the summer. I'm pretty sure because it did so well the wintertime that it's just like a cool weather crop. I've never grown celery before, and I've never even researched it. It just happened to do really well when I put it in. But I think I'm just going to take the celery out of there and maybe put like 3 of my tomato plants in there, and call it a day, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like there was something else that was going on over here. I'm having some struggles with I have a Florida King peach. I've never grown a peach tree before, and I got a dormant. So I got it probably like the last week of February, first week of March. I put it in the ground, and I've tried researching, and I've gotten a whole bunch of different answers on when they come out of dormancy. So it was like a bare root dormant tree at Tractor Supply that I got. It looks like it's grafted. I see a scar on there. It looks like it's grafted. It's still green. It's alive. It's not even trying to put out any leaves or anything like that. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. It said water well for the first 2 years until it's established. It says to keep keep the soil moist. So it's in ground and it's moist, and it's back there towards the back of my yard where it's getting closer to the wetlands. It's not in the wetlands, but it's getting closer there. So things tend to stay moist over there. So I don't know. It's in between. I have something called a calamondin, which I've never heard of. I just found out this year. Actually got it on the same day that I got the peach. But that's doing well. It's flowering. It's getting fruit, little tiny itty bitty fruits on it. So I should be getting something out of that. And that's going to replace my lemon. So everything that I read says a calamondin is a cross between like a mandarin. I don't know if it's actually a cross, but the flavor is supposed to be like a cross between a mandarin, orange, and like a lemon or a lime, but it's much tangier than an orange. So it's something that you could do like lemon juice out of if you wanted to. So I've got one of those, and then I've got a honey Murcott tangerine, which was delicious. That thing, I mean, it's a little tree, so it's not like it was completely overloaded with fruit, but it had it probably had over 20 fruit on it this year. And this was the first winter season that we had it. So after our first frost, we had a bite, and they were so sweet. And I was kind of worried because I really wanted like one of these sweet sasumas. Like when I was growing up, my pawpaw in South Louisiana he had like an acreage garden, like not 1 acre, like a couple of acres of a garden that he grew mostly tomatoes. He had corn, potatoes, he had peppers, and part of that was like an orange orchard or grove. And he had all kinds of citrus, not just oranges. He had Louisiana sweet oranges, which are very good. and he had like apricots or kumquats. But my favorite thing that he grew was the satsuma. It was like eating candy. It was like a dessert after dinner. They were so sweet, so sweet. They were my favorite thing on his entire garden that he grew. And so he used to always tell me, you have to wait till the first frost before you can pick an orange. And so he'd always make me wait for the first frost. And then it happened to be when I'd be over there, during my Christmas break and stuff, I would be over at my pawpaw's house for like the whole 2 weeks. And I would always get to have the first frost, the first orange after the first frost. And they were so sweet and they were so good. They were sweet like candy. And I was worried my tangerine would not like hold up to the hype of the satsuma that my pawpaw grew. But those were some dang good tangerines, and I am very glad that my husband got it for me as a gift. Um, they were very, very tasty, and we didn't have like enough to like send with our kids to school or anything like that for like every day, like not on like a daily basis or anything like that. Like I said, it's still a baby tree, but we had enough that when we were out here playing in the yard and stuff like that, if we were hungry, we could just go snatch an orange off the tree. Or I keep on saying an orange, I call all citrus oranges, it's just who I am. But we could go get a tangerine off the tree and eat it as a snack, and it was really, really good. So I was really happy with those. It's not flowering that much this year, which my husband was looking at it because I was like, what is wrong with my tree? Like, it did so good last year. And apparently because they, it's not uncommon, I should say. I don't think this happens to maybe every tree, but it's not uncommon for them to be like super productive one year and then not as productive the other year. So it's finally getting some blooms on it. Our neighbor's orange tree has had blooms. Like, it still has oranges on it and it has blooms. And it's had blooms for like a long time. Like, I'd say since February at least, it's had blooms on it. So I thought something was wrong with our tangerine. I don't know what variety of citrus they have, but it looks like it's like an actual orange. But so I was worried about our tangerine tree. It's finally getting some blooms. Not very many though. I think I've counted 5. So I probably won't have very many tangerine this year. So maybe we might have to get 2 and try to offset it. So one tangerine produces one year and then the other one does the big production the other year, and they just trade back and forth. We'll see. But it's all a learning experience, so we'll just see what happens. I might just, maybe it just needs more time to get mature to keep up that kind of production that it had last year. So yeah, that's everything that's going on in the garden, and I guess that's all I have to say. I usually like have so much to say. I probably did make this pretty long. I don't know what the time is on this, but anywho, all right. I don't ever know how to end these things, so I'm just gonna let you go. Okay, bye.